Yo, what's good, y'all? How y'all doing, man? Hope y'all doing all right tonight. Man, I'm up here in Chicago right now, headed up to Wisconsin. Actually switched up my loads for the week. Switched up, about to head out to the Midwest. Um, just because the money I'm making on one load is more than I was gonna end up making on two loads. Within the same window of time. So, it was an obvious switch for me. So, looks like I'm headed out to Utah right now. Once I leave Wisconsin, but I know I've had people ask me about like how the rates and stuff are looking right now. Now that we're kind of getting a little bit further into the year, um, and as always, hey, shout out to anybody that's already made the move over here, or anybody that is, currently in the process of making the move over here. Um, and shout out to some of the drivers that I've like casually run into over the road, like at Chippers and stuff. It's been weird, like people coming up, "Hey man, how you doing?" Like that's kind of strange. I'm not used to that, unless I'm somewhere a lot closer to home. But with that being said, man, I'll post my email down. I'll post my email down in the description, as well as my Snapchat. So if you want to get a hold of me, you can always email me or hit me up on Snap, add me on Snapchat and hit me up, and I'll get you my phone number. Just because I don't know, I don't like posting my phone number on social media. But on to the main topic of this video, as y'all can see in the title, rates. So, like right now, looking at the load board, man, the load board is starting to tick up like quite a bit. Um, this past week, pretty much everything I hauled was over $2 a mile, which has been nice. It's gonna make for some good checks coming up here the next week, 2 weeks, especially with this load going out to Utah. So I'm picking up out here in Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin. Got a load going out to St. George, Utah, so pretty close to Nevada, like right, well, pretty close to Vegas actually, because that's where my next load is picking up after I leave Utah. Um, so yeah, I'm going down there, and right now, man. So after I calculated up the load, paid 6,300 before my cut. So I end up making a little bit over like it's like 4 grand and like $20 off of that load. And with the loads that I had before, I was only going to end up grossing like 3 grand um, off of those two loads within the same amount of time. So for me, I mean, it was an obvious no-brainer. Like why would I even stay on those two loads? Because the weather out there is good right now. I've been checking the weather; it's supposed to be in the 60s. All this week, next week. Um, but I'm gonna keep an eye on that, of course, because as you know, everybody knows you're a truck driver, man. Weather changes, ASAP. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you still have to keep an eye on it, even when you got to check every day when you get up, just to make sure everything is still looking the way that it was the day before, so that you can adjust your plan um heading to your destination. But from what I've seen, like especially out of university, like the University Park, Chicago area, Wisconsin, I don't know what it is about Wisconsin right now, but Wisconsin has become like a hotbed for good freight. I mean, most of the loads that I've seen coming out of Wisconsin are paying $2 a mile. That's after your cut. Because there's a series of loads that leave from the Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, going to Nevada. They're plentiful on the board. The price I've seen go from 2,800 to 3,300 for your line haul, and then plus whatever you get on your fuel surcharge. But after your cut on those loads, I mean, you're still, you're gonna be over a little bit over $2 a mile, which is good. I mean, anything over $2 a mile, especially with those loads, because they're only about 7 to 10,000 pounds, you're making good money on because you can save a lot of money on your fuel heading out that way. And then, of course, if you download certain apps, they can help you fuel better. That way, you're getting a whole lot cheaper fuel. I mean, yeah, you're not going to any of the major truck stops at this point, I kind of only go to the major truck stops right now just to fill up enough to get shower credits. just my 50 gallons to get a shower credit, and that's about it. So if y'all are looking for something to help y'all out with saving a little bit of fuel, I highly recommend downloading Fuel Book in the App Store, Android, iPhone, whatever you got. Um, it's just a like a diesel pump, and it's like an orange logo, something like that. It might vary on Android. I'm not really sure. But I highly recommend downloading that app because it helps me save a ton on fuel. I think so when I came through Indiana, fuel in most places was about 330, 325 ish, and with Fuel Book, yeah, I was going to smaller mom and pops, but they accepted com data, and fuel was anywhere from 289 to 299, and some were 279 at those mom and pop stops. But of course, some of them were too far out of my route, so it really didn't make any sense to try to go chase after the ones that were like 279. Um, but yeah, man, yeah, University Park rates are looking great right now. Wisconsin rates are ridiculous right now. I will say if you take one of those loads out of Wisconsin, if you're driving here already, you haven't taken one of those loads going from Wisconsin to Nebraska, North Carolina. There's not a lot coming out of North Carolina right now that's really paying well. Um, my previous load that I had taking me over to it would have picked up down in Missouri and taken me up to York, PA. Well, no, it would have picked up in Illinois. Would have taken me to New York, PA. It was still a good load. It was a really solid load. 700 miles for 3,300 bucks. But I canceled that load to take the load that I got going out to Utah. So that's really worth it. You know what I'm saying? So like right now, a lot of loads are ticking up. I highly recommend, man. Like so, if you're over here and you're like trying to stick to certain areas, right? Like at the beginning, I highly recommend. You can change the location on the load board no matter where you are. You can always look at a different market just to see what the freight's looking like. I highly recommend always, sitting there and kind of fiddling around and looking at different places to see where really good freight's coming out of. Especially if you can get to like the Oklahoma market, like Tulsa, Oklahoma, that market is really good. Anything within a 250-mile radius, you can usually find a $2 a mile plus load pretty like easily. And you can get some really good, you know, $3 a mile plus loads. I'm talking about after your cut. Sometimes, not all the time, but out of that market, you got a good chance of doing it. As well as coming out of Spring Hill, Kansas. The only downfall of Spring Hill is that's gonna be hauling a Clorox load, and with those Clorox loads, um, the thing about those is that they're always heavy. Because you're usually carrying like kitty litter, it seems like pet products, stuff like that. So those loads are generally pretty heavy. But I mean, if you manage your fuel costs, a lot of times, even though they're heavy, those loads still pay dividends. Um, to haul you to for you to haul that heavy, that heavy weight. Um, but yeah, man, like I said in my other video, if you need any help with anything, man, if you need some tips, some better areas to run, if you're already here, or if you're about to be here, man, always, like I shoot me an email, um, shoot me a friend request on Snapchat. Like, actually, I think I'll probably post my number down in the description too. I mean, ain't that big of a deal. Like, shoot me a text message. If you call me, I might not answer just because I don't usually answer numbers I don't know. Just being honest with you. Just shoot me a text message, and if I'm asleep, I'll get back to you. If I'm awake, I'll go ahead and call you right back. But I highly recommend. Yeah, man. There's some good freight. There's a lot of money to be made right now, especially with springtime, summertime coming up. That gives you more of the ability to be able to run, Midwest and being able to actually hit the West Coast. Because the thing I found out when I first, became an IC in October was that when you're hitting that time where it's not really bad snow out that way, to where you're not having to worry about going over Snoqualmie Pass or Cabbage Patch, depending on what you want to call it. Um, Dead Man's Pass. People call it a bunch of different things, but out that way, whenever there's not snow on the ground, they pay you really good to ship that freight. because they're trying to get their freight moved before they start getting to the point where snow's coming in. They got to worry about freight not being able to get to the receivers on time. That kind of stuff. So they really pay you really well to get the hurry to try to get their freight moved out um, before they start hitting that season of the year. Whenever you might get a foot of snow up there on Snoqualmie, and you won't be able to move. They have the road, they have the highway shut down. For a day, sometimes multiple days, until it's clear, just because of how much it snows up that way. Also, another thing I will say, um, if you are coming over here and you plan on going through tail, I said in the last video, I know a couple of people like I'm not really sure exactly like what they're changing as far as tail, but I do know I've seen there's another driver who just came on who did have a Volvo. So if you are interested in a Volvo, I'm not sure if they're bringing those back or if he just got lucky and they had one and he just got it. Um, but they do have Volvos again apparently, because when I got my truck, I was actually looking at either a Freightliner or a Volvo just because I wanted. I've been in the International, been in the Pete, been in the KW. I wanted something different. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be in something I haven't been in yet, so I wanted a Freightliner or a Volvo. And of course, I am a Freightliner. And I mean, I wouldn't change that now. I love my truck, especially now that I have it set up the way that I want it to be. But of course, if you want a Volvo, I think that option is there. And also, I've seen some drivers talking about they have that have like just come over like since January time frame in December. I've seen a couple drivers talking about they've gotten APUs in their trucks. So if you do want an APU, I probably would go ahead and try to see if you can get a truck with an APU from Tail if you're looking at going through Tail. Just because, first of all, it's gonna save you some money on fuel. I mean, I generally don't burn that much anyway when stop for the night. If I do leave my truck on all night, I don't generally burn that much. But the thing is, you're putting a lot more wear on that DEF system whenever you're constantly idling the truck, because these newer trucks really aren't meant to idle like that. So having that APU can save you some money in the long run, just because with the APU, it saves you having to run your truck constantly, and like my truck, it regens constantly. And I've noticed that whenever I'm idling my truck overnight, it'll regen at least once or maybe twice, um, while I'm parked for the night. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it, man. Hope y'all are being safe, man. Hope y'all be careful out here. If you need anything, as always, hit me up in the comments. Or you can always send me an email, and I'll post my phone number down in the description as well. So if you want to hit me up, feel free to hit me up. And y'all have a good night, man. Peace.